Hello, hello. Welcome back to the Vibrant Mom podcast. How are you doing, my friend? I'm so grateful you're here listening today. I cannot wait to spill the tea with you on the number one, the single biggest mistake that I made as a therapist for about 15 or so years in my career, and what I know now and what I have been doing for myself and for anyone that I work with, whether it be in my clinical role or in my mentoring groups, what I do differently now. And I come by this mistake honestly, as do most of the therapists I know, that the research, the science, the art and practice of counseling evolves and changes over time as we learn more as a field and then as each individual clinician learns more. But it just so happens that my personal journey of transformation and the collective professional journey that I have gone on and witnessed so many other therapists going on, those two journeys happened to coincide just about 5 years ago for me. So let me set the stage for you. I just turned 40 years old. I had a 3-year-old, almost turning 4, and I had just come out of the most intense lockdown period of the COVID-19 pandemic. So just like for a lot of people, my life and my work were influenced significantly during the pandemic. I went from a pretty much 80% in person, 20% telemedicine practice to 100% virtual. I went from having offices based outside of the community that I worked in to moving all of my work down to Carbondale, Colorado, where I live. And I went from a pretty seasoned practitioner, relatively full practice most of the time, to being a booked out for 6 to 12 months plus, not usually taking even a waiting list type of therapist. And I think that shift in my business occurred for a couple of reasons. One, I was stepping into some new and exciting work as a therapist and getting a lot of positive feedback from clients and therefore getting a lot of referrals. And of course, maybe you included the stress and the tension and the everyone being together of the pandemic and especially the lockdown portion of the pandemic really encouraged a lot of women, a lot of families to reimagine and rethink how they were going to do life. And so therefore an influx of clients coming into my counseling practice. So right around the time that I was experiencing a pretty full volume of work, kind of working overtime and double time as a therapist, I also started experiencing things that I had never experienced before as just a woman or as a human on the planet. And the biggest thing that I want to share today that I was experiencing was insomnia. So it was the kind of insomnia that was full stop, can't really function. There's no other way around it, but really letting the lack of sleep and the stress that caused play a pretty dominant role in my life. Now, this is after my son was already sleeping through the night for many years, before I had my son, and after that first year or so of infancy, I had not been experiencing any sleep disruption before this kind of fateful period of time in my story. And all of a sudden, it felt like overnight, I would lay in bed for anywhere between 4 to 6 hours, unable to fall asleep. Nothing I did for a sleep aid really helped. Ambien didn't help, NyQuil didn't help, Tylenol PM didn't help. I wouldn't recommend that you do any of those things without a health provider's recommendation anyway, but it would help for a night, but then those things would not help me fall asleep. on the rare nights that I did fall asleep without difficulty, I would wake up between 3 or 4 in the morning and not be able to fall asleep. So I went at this insomnia problem with everything that I had as a mental health provider and all of the things I had been helping women with previously to try to support their insomnia issues. I looked at cognitive behavioral therapy for insomnia, which is like a gold standard for insomnia. I looked at nutrition. I looked at nervous system regulation and stress management. I went deep on what might be on the inside and my inner psychology contributing to the sudden onset of insomnia. And it went about 2 years, or maybe a little bit more, before I finally was able to crack the code on my insomnia. I do want to say that in those 2 years, I will be forever grateful for the difficulty that I experienced, because it really gave me an in-depth crash course on so many wellness principles, psychology principles, burnout prevention principles, stress management principles that I still use today and that still benefit women deeply, so that I offer them to women as a mental health specialist. But the one thing that I was missing, and I would say the biggest mistake that I made as a provider, is not knowing about the perimenopause midlife transition impact on the brain. I understood it better from a cyclic perspective, that there would be certain periods of time in a woman's cycle where she might have elevated mood or depression or anxiety symptoms, and I was using lifestyle management and stress management to help support women during those tender times in their cycle. But what I did not know, and which I now am rigorously making sure that any woman in my practice who's 35 years of age or older is paying attention to, is where they may be in their perimenopause journey, which can last up to a decade for many women, and the best ways to support perimenopause to promote steady and spacious and even mood, brain function, and mental health. The way that I stumbled upon the answer to my insomnia is because right around the same time, a few doctors that are very influential in my health journey started to post rapidly and publicly, giving a ton of information to women in midlife online and social media spaces, and it started breaking into the mental health community. So thank you. A shout out to Dr. Mary Claire Haver, Dr. Heather Hirsch, and Dr. Lisa Mosconi. I have all of their work linked in the show notes, so please check out their books and the amazing thought leadership they're contributing to the physical health and menopause, but also the mental health space as well. So I was seeing and being exposed to some of their work, started reading their books, started to do my own research, and I became convinced that my insomnia was not related to any of the other things I had been targeting, but purely a hormonal fluctuation issue. And I was able to make an informed decision on menopausal hormone therapy. And it was literally, I am not being hyperbolic here, overnight / within the first week of replacing estrogen and progesterone that I started sleeping regularly. I could finally get, more than a couple of hours of sleep at a time, which was a huge win because I had been surviving on 4 or less hours of sleep for over 2 years. And so that was life-changing for me. But I share that with you all, not because I assume that everyone is going to have insomnia as sneaky mental health issue in perimenopause, but because there are so many mood and brain related impacts that fluctuating levels of estrogen have on a woman's brain. And so now I know to make sure that anyone I work with is paying attention to supporting their emotional well-being with all of that amazing lifestyle stuff that I was able to uncover and implement within myself, but also that you know what signs to look for that might be letting you know that your hormones are in that zone of chaos and that wildly fluctuating period of time, and to seek your own education and support and partner with a knowledgeable physician to help you make your own decision about if menopausal hormone therapy is a good fit for you. That being said, there are a few different ways that I like to encourage women to support those changing hormone patterns in their brain, but menopausal hormone therapy is one of the big ones to consider and to do some research on and to evaluate. But let me walk you through some of the predictable and treatable, if we consider how to support the body in this big change, but the predictable brain and mood changes that will come as a result of estrogen changes in the brain. Okay, so the first symptom I want to talk about is brain fog, or it can be called like cognitive slowing. So it looks kind of like forgetting words or names, even just like mid-sentence, having more trouble focusing on tasks than usual, feeling mentally fuzzy or like things are slower, and if you used to be able to multitask, not being able to do that anymore at all. And before I keep going with this list, I do think that most moms would say after having kids, a lot of these things occur. There's so much going on in our minds, and our mental load and workload is high. But I want you to think about and consider as you're listening to this list, if anything that you might be experiencing feels like a little bit extra than what you're used to. Certainly pre-kids, but maybe even if you've kind of settled into a new rhythm with kids and you're kind of weathering the changes that come and go in your journey as a mother, if you feel like anything on this list might be cropping up for you more than you expected, and it could be a sign that just a little bit of hormonal support could go a long way. Now, brain fog was a huge and is a huge perimenopause symptom of mine as well. There's also sometimes difficulty with memory or recall, like those like tip of the tongue moments where you like forget appointments or you totally misplace your keys or wallet. And again, you weren't prone to that already prior to this transition, and you're really struggling to remember details, and you're walking into rooms all the time, can't remember why you're there. That also happens for me. Another symptom is that your attention and your like executive functioning or follow through and problem solving skills feel compromised. It can be hard to stay focused, easy to get distracted. You might have trouble planning or organizing when that wasn't already a problem for you. And that you're feeling, I think one that's really important here is that you feel much more overwhelmed than usual for you. And then this was true for me alongside the insomnia, is that I used to be, prior to perimenopause, a highly decisive person. I never had trouble making decisions and kind of sitting with a big decision for a few days or a few hours and then feeling like I could see that clear path all the way through. That changed a lot for me as my brain and estrogen started changing. So if you're feeling overly overwhelmed or highly indecisive in a way that's not typical for you, that could be a clue. Another symptom of perimenopause, and I'm only focusing on the mental health and brain related ones today, is new or significantly worsening anxiety, tearfulness, irritability, quick anger or frustration, or periods of sadness and hopelessness. Again, that were not typical for you before. Many women are misdiagnosed with depression or anxiety during this time. Not that they don't have those symptoms, but the treatment that they're undergoing to support those symptoms is usually insufficient. They may be seeking multiple, usually pretty good interventions that even though they try them, it's not really touching the anxiety or depression. That's because it is a hormonal issue, if it is a hormonal issue, rather than a neurotransmitter or lifestyle issue. Now, let me pause for a second here. I still recommend and support neurotransmitter support for clients regularly. I still, of course, do lifestyle management and stress management, and then the deeper work of therapy that can help you uncover habits or limiting beliefs or resolve trauma or whatever it is that the deeper work of therapy might be for any individual. Those things are still really important when we're treating mood disturbances and other mental health issues. Those don't go away. But the mistake that I made as a mental health professional is that I was only using those tools in my toolbox, and I really didn't understand or know about the profound impact that the chaotic fluctuations of hormones has on women between the ages of 35 and 50, or maybe later if you are perimenopausal a little bit later in life. Another symptom of perimenopause for working moms is sleep disruption or insomnia. So that looks like difficulty falling asleep, waking up a lot, or maybe having night sweats or hot flashes that might be waking you up, not feeling restored even after you sleep, and definitely waking up much earlier than you normally would. Oh, I talked about that one quite a bit earlier because that was my biggest indicator of the transition into perimenopause. And I encourage you, as you're considering your own sleep challenges and considering any of the other symptoms that I've discussed prior, and we'll discuss just a few more today, that you take a moment to consider, do you have adequate support to evaluate for yourself if you're experiencing any of these things and what they may be attributed to, and things that you've tried in the past, and see if those are helping you. And if you keep running into dead ends, if you keep struggling with the same things despite all of the other interventions that you're trying to help yourself with around any of these symptoms, it might be time to consult expert perimenopausal care and support. I'll be sure to link a few different practices that I recommend my clients to all the time, but really it's a little bit up to finding in your community who has the training and expertise to help you. And if you are dealing with insomnia, I am so sorry. I feel for you. I know intimately what that feels like, and it is worth ruling out if menopausal hormone therapy won't help you in a significant way to start getting sleep again. When we're not sleeping, it's, I think, the number one thing needed for a baseline, a foundation of good mental health. So it's really difficult to know if brain fog and memory and attention and mood disturbance are related to sleep or the lack of sleep, or if there's something that's occurring on their own. And I would say in perimenopause, it's not unusual to have a mixed bag of many of these things. I just want to bring to light a few other brain mental health based symptoms that, if they weren't happening for you before, but you're nearing or in midlife and now it's all of a sudden starting to happen, let me give you a few more things to pay attention to. One is a significantly heightened emotional sensitivity. So crying more easily, feeling off or wrong or not yourself, kind of feeling a little more highly agitated or irritable or overly sensitive to criticism. And I think that a big hallmark with this emotional sensitivity has to do with, I think, some dual experiences that are happening for women in midlife, especially working moms, is that your sense of identity, your role shifting as your kids grow and need different things from you, as your relationships change, as your body is starting to change, and as maybe your work or your feeling of confidence or connection with your work changes, that we have a lot of emerging and evolving identity support needs as women in midlife. But perimenopause and fluctuating hormones can really enhance that struggle within. We can feel more easily overwhelmed, small stressors feeling much bigger than they used to feel before, and feeling less resilient to everyday life. Some people call it like their spark is gone, like they're just not feeling life being in that full color. It just feels a little more muted and a little more difficult to navigate or move through. And then the last that I'll say is just having greater fluctuations in energy. So just feeling energized for part of the day, but then getting pretty big dips in energy and fatigue, whether that be physical or mental fatigue and exhaustion. So we're starting to feel more drained, even without an obvious heavier workload than we're used to. So check in with yourself for a moment. I know that can maybe feel like a long and kind of heavy feeling list. And my intention in sharing it with you is that for some of you listening, it might be this like siren call that there is better health, better well-being, and deep, profound relief available to you in this season of your life. Even if these things aren't completely hormonally related, this might be your invitation to step into something deeper and more connected within. Something that helps you with stress management, with navigating your emotions more skillfully, and for getting kind of next level tools to meet the demands of the rigors that come for working moms in midlife. It's also just a mental health provider's invitation for you not to underestimate the changes in your hormonal presentation and how it might affect the way that your brain and your emotions and your mood is being experienced. You deserve to feel much better if you're struggling with any of those things than you currently do right now, and resources and help are available. So the biggest mistake I made as a therapist was underestimating and being underinformed about the midlife perimenopause transition for the women that I was working with. And what I know now is that working moms in midlife need a few different things in order to step into the vibrant health and vibrant sense of self and the emotional well-being that I know that we all want. And what I know now, I decide to package up and bottle up and put into a space, put into a room and into a community of like-minded women, just like you, who would benefit from kind of the next era of vibrant midlife practices. So here comes in the Vibrant Mom Collective. Doors open for this collective on October 1st, which means that by the time you're listening to this, it is open and available. I hope you'll check out the link below, because what I am so interested in offering to you are the 4 pillars of the Vibrant Mom Collective curriculum. So in this community, we address issues that have to do with, number 1, your new emotional wellness era. Up-to-date frameworks, effective and practical tools that help working moms in midlife grow and mature and really evolve emotionally within so that you feel better across the board, no matter what life is throwing your way. The second pillar of the curriculum has to do with all of the vibrant midlife health practices that I have trialed and researched and learned over the last 5 years, so that you don't have to dedicate the hundreds of hours that I put into the research, I give you the most potent, the most practical, and the most effective health practices into one place. These are things that you can weave into and will love to prioritize. They will make your experience of the day and of the week that much better if you integrate them into your life. The third pillar has to do with really special curriculum that I've put together that helps us as women to locate who we are evolving into becoming and helping an authentic and new sense of self to emerge. Whether that has to do with your identity as a woman or as a mother or as a professional or a wonderful crazy combo of all three, this is the curriculum you don't want to miss. The last pillar of the curriculum within the collective has to do with processes and frameworks that will help you to feel clear and confident and inspired to uncover your unique creative fulfillment. We all want to feel more joyful, more vibrant, more alive, and it can be really difficult with a full-on and full volume season of life as a mom in midlife. It can be really hard to figure out what is sustainable and practical to bring to this time. And girl, I've got you covered. I can't wait to show you the way. So before you head out of this podcast, I want you to do a quick little self-check-in. What are you noticing you're feeling after hearing this podcast right now? What emotions are present for you? What questions do you have? What things feel overwhelming or unclear? And what things feel interesting and worth pursuing? Take a moment, because your response to this information matters just as much, if not more, than the information itself. And learning how to connect inward, to check in with yourself, to extract the things that you're receiving or that are being presented to you, extract the things that have value and meaning for you, and allow yourself to discard or let fall away the things that don't feel relevant to you. Do that quick little inventory right now. Capture the things that matter to you. Get a sense of where you're at. And if it feels like a good fit, to step into an expertly led, deeply heartfelt community experience of transformational mentoring. I can't wait to see you inside of the collective.